Good morning, good morning, morning. We have a practice all about the legs. Yes, let's get our legs stronger. Let's feel ourselves more grounded, and let's have a really, really great practice. Okay, so we need a massage ball or tennis ball, a strap, a block, and I think that's it. So join me. Let's get rolling. Let's begin first with the ball. And we're going to take the ball underneath the hip. Now you can, if you find that being on your wrists is pretty tough, you can just sit back and just rest on the ball like so. Okay, so I'm just going to come up a little bit closer so you can see that you're putting the ball right there on this outside of your hip. So like I said, you can always be on your back, right? There's no point in doing a movement. This is my handy little pelvis that I'll talk about later. There's no point in doing a movement where you got pain. Like, there's just no point. So don't do that, okay? So if you're finding your wrists are feeling a bit sensitive today, then come onto your back like so, and then just follow along with where I'm going. Okay? Now, some of you are going to be pretty okay in terms of mobility through your hips. So I want to show you something. See how I raise my leg here? And the orientation of my femur head is now different here compared to here. So because of that, you've got access to other tissue that you wouldn't have access before. So if you are able to, and you're able to do that rotation and taking it up, don't do it if you can't, right? There's no point in doing it poorly just to do something. Then you can come on out to the outside of your hip. If you're unable to take the ankle up, just come onto the outside of your hip. You can even slide that leg up if you can. But the idea is can you shift, or if you can, and you're able, shift the orientation of that leg bone, and you'll notice that even if the ball's in the exact same spot, by changing the orientation of that leg bone, that it just feels a bit different. You might get into some areas that you might not have noticed before. Yeah. And again, I want to really emphasize, I say this each time I use the ball, but for me, this is not about changing up your, it's not creating a release. It's not creating a myofascial release, although it is. That's not my intention for this. My intention is for you to grow your awareness about what's going on in your body, yeah? And this can be awareness about just how your hips feel, yeah? And what we're going to do after we do a little bit of rolling here is we're going to get into some hip mobility to actually retrain the coordination patterns between your brain and that tissue so that then the stuff in your hip doesn't feel so sore anymore. Because you could just kind of keep coming back to using the ball over and over and over again. But why? Like, why put yourself through that? How about improve your overall function, meaning improving your overall control and coordination patterns? Because that's really the foundation of improving strength, right? Strength is really, really easy when it comes down to it. What's the tricky part is when you move like crap. Sorry, I don't mean to be so bold, but when you move really poorly, then when you start to load strength on top of that and strengthening exercises on top of that, you just don't have a foundational base. So all those cool little programs out there, if you're moving poorly, it's not going to be that helpful. I'm kind of on a bit of a rant, it seems like, this Saturday morning, but yeah, that's kind of what happens. So maybe I should tone down. A little hot under my pink collar. Okay, then we're going to take this. Find the meat of your calf muscle here. You see where that the form of that calf muscle starts to come into the Achilles tendon. So we're going to find that point right there. Okay, just place that right there, and then start to move around. I mean, ultimately, when it comes down to it, it's your choice how you are with your body, right? We all know that. And we all do stuff at times, either because we just want to, even though we know it maybe not the best thing for us, or we are completely unconscious about like how we're doing it. And both those are fine. Ultimately, though, we get to decide, and you'll see I'm rolling it onto the outside of my calf, coming right up towards my knee. But ultimately, it's, you get to see the results, and if you like the results that you have with how you're able to move and be, Okay, that's ultimately what you get to play with. Okay. All right, so we're just going to roll around here. I also want to plant the seed that in addition to Susie's resource library, I am in the midst of creating an online therapy program for the professionals who are watching. And then for those of you who are not professionals, who are working with clients in this way, but still want to learn more, but from a student perspective, I've got something in store for you too. So I'm just going to plant that seed, just to let you know that more is coming down the pipe. There you go. Okay, so now where we're going to roll to, or haha, that's a funny sort of fun, so we're going to come into a lunge. So coming on up, I'm going to start facing this way for you guys before I get onto my mat. So here, we're here and we're coming forward. Yeah, and if you've followed me through this series that I've been doing since we've been on shutdown, you'll notice here that my pelvis is basically staying level. Now, the leg bone has 3 to 11 degrees of range in the socket, in extension, and then the pelvis is going to move into an anterior tilt. Okay, so this pelvis won't stay like, it's not going to stay like this the entire way unless you're staying really in that range. So your pelvis will anterior tilt a little bit, but what you're playing around with and what you're wanting to get a sense of is, are you just collapsing through your lumbar spine because you don't have the control or the suppleness or the mobility or the whatever to move yourself forward? Now, I can't say for sure what is limiting you because I can't see you. But if you notice yourself wanting to do this, if you're wanting to lead and drive movement from here, chances are there's something up or you're just lacking some awareness. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's something, there's a blind spot there. All right, so as you come forward, just notice where you're moving from. And the articulating joints are knees, hips, and then, of course, the ankle. And it might be fun for you to notice if you're gripping with your feet or your toes as you move. Okay, and now let's go to the other side. Okay, same thing. So if those of you who are tuning into this after 2020, this is like a little time capsule for you. All these videos that you see in this green, very shadowed space have all been filmed during lockdown and shelter at home and all the various terms for saying our world is under a coronavirus pandemic. And so you are getting a little bit of a taste of what life was like during that time. So just get a real nice feel. See, instead of just kind of going into the exercise, can you actually feel your leg, your pelvis, your knees? Can you feel that moving? Okay, now I want to try something else with you. I want you to bring this foot forward. Okay, now take the toes up. Okay, good, and then relax. And take the toes up. Now, when you took the toes up here, did your jaw and your face and your head all of a sudden start to get tight? So if that's the case, then try keeping everything else that's not involved in lifting the toes, which really is nothing. Can you keep that all relaxed and at ease? Or the same, I should say. Keep it the same and then lift the toes. Can you do that just... And then start to move forward with those toes lifted. Sorry, I had that little bleak there because my headset was shutting off. Okay, now does this feel any different with your toes lifted? Now, some of you might feel like, oh my God, there's way too much going on my shin. So then if that's the case, then how you're lifting is that the lifting is either not appropriate or you're lifting way too hard. Right? Can you do that with less effort and come forward? Okay, let's do the other side. sometimes people feel a bit more contained when they lift the toes, so long as they're not overutilizing the rest of them. Right? This is just a toe thing as we come into this. Now, you might feel something different through your bottom of your foot, and your shin. Some of the muscles of the front of your shin are involved in lifting the toes, but it's more about, are you overdoing it here, and are you utilizing anything up above that doesn't need to be used? All right, let that go. Perfect. So now I'm going to take you this way. So we're going to bring the leg forward here. You're going to take the back toes under. With the back toes under, you're going to press that heel back. Really think it's the heel that's coming back. And as you press that heel back, you'll probably feel something more in the front of your leg. So press, and I want you to actually press quite firmly. Like really kind of get into thinking like you're holding up a wall with that heel. Okay, and now come to the other side. So you'll feel it in that back leg quite a bit. All right, so it looks like from this angle, toes come back, press that heel back. Heel, 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 heel. You're not coming into this leg very much at all. It's all about this back leg. So as the heel keeps pushing back, you'll likely feel it in this back leg. Now, where I'm moving you toward is into a movement that's that you're going to feel a lot of strength building in the back leg, but I just want to make sure you can get it all sensed, that you can sense it all. Typically what happens is that when people come up and out of a lunge, they come up like this. Do you see that orientation? So we come forward and up, right? Totally fine. In fact, let's play with that. Forward and up. Notice if you want to grip with the front of your shin. Notice if you want to grip through your foot. Can you just take your weight from here, bring it forward, and then up? Right? Are you able to do that? Bring it forward and then up. Okay, good. And then come to this side. Toes come under. And then we're going to bring it forward and up. Ooh, a little bit of balance there. And bring it forward and up. Okay, now, only because I noticed the balance on my part, let me remind something. Feel the center of your heel, the ball of the foot, and the base of the pinky toe on that front foot as you come forward and up. Yeah, isn't that interesting that even you can see a difference with me? Coming forward and up. Right now, I'm not pushing my foot down. I'm just aware of those 3 points. Okay, so now push that heel back. Okay, push that heel back. And notice the difference when I say lift your knee. You see how there's not a forward and up, but rather there's a heel press back and the knee lifts. So the weight is staying all on my left side, the side away from the camera. The heel goes back and the knee lifts. This is not easy. So a lot of times when people are first learning this, it can look something like this. Whoa! Or they come over onto the side and try to press that back. That's fine. What I want you to play with, and this is something that you'll probably get inspired by a little bit, is if you notice yourself bringing that weight over to this leg because you don't quite have the coordination pattern this back leg yet, then just keep practicing it and just think about heel back, heel back, heel back, knee lift. Yeah? Heel back, heel back, heel back, knee lift. Yeah, let's try the other side. And oftentimes, it's more of a coordination thing than it is a strength thing. Like you might feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. Susie's making it look so easy. Right? You see how I'm not coming over here to do this? I'm staying right where I am, and heel lifts. Or sorry, knee lifts. Okay? But it's just a coordination thing. It's your brain and your body that have to sort of say, ooh, what am I doing here? Yeah. Now, the other thing I want you to notice is, are you like doing this? Right? Now, I know that there's some systems out there that talk about like whole body tension. You know, if that floats your boat, go for it. In my mind, I'm like, why use all that extraneous tension to lift the knee? Yeah, why use all that extraneous tension to lift the knee? All right? Okay, so now let's take a little bit of a breather and bring that leg forward again. Now, with this back foot. You can keep it where it is, or you can bring it onto the toes like this. And I want you to come forward and back. Now notice if there's anything different here. Just in your movement, okay? And let's do the other side. Okay, now what I'd like to do is just come back to the feet for a moment, because sometimes doing this test and repeat can be really interesting. So let's take the toes under, right, and slowly come down onto the bottom, onto your heels. So the thing when you're doing this is that you're on the forefoot, you're not on the tippy toes. And so I've got a block here on purpose, and I'll show you that in a second. The other thing is your hips are coming down onto your heels, but we don't want the heels to splay. So if you're finding that the heels are splaying, or you're kind of up on your toes and not on the forefoot, then just bring a block underneath your shins. And you might need a bit more than that, or it might not be quite appropriate if your feet are really quite limited. That's a time for a different video. Okay, so we're here. The idea here is you don't want to feel this in the knuckles of your feet. You might feel something along the bottom of your foot, but you don't want to feel anything in the knuckles. Yeah. And this is something that you can play with when you're doing anything sort of passive like Netflix or any other thing that you might be doing along that line. Good. Okay, now come out of that. Toes come under, and now pull those toes up. So whereas before the toes were under, and I was on the forefoot, now I'm coming onto the forefoot, but on the dorsal side of the foot. And then I'm going to come back. Good. Now for this one, you might find it easier to be here, and then, or it might be like that as you have better coordination and just better strength overall and suppleness, it might be easier to be here, but you don't want to collapse your feet down. So there's still a space there, yeah? And you can come up eventually to here. Now, this might be too much, so don't be like, oh, what's she doing to me? Come out of this and come to here. Right? We don't want to, you don't want to be freaking out. Okay? Good. You're getting into the muscles in between those little bones of your feet. And then we're going to come back to lunge, come back to the lift, and notice if there's anything different. Good. Okay, and then come off. Now let's come back to that lunge. All right, and come forward. And this way and this way. Okay, now take the toes under. Press that heel back. Does anything change? Okay. Good. Okay, now, other side. Press that heel back. Good. Okay. And just get a feel if there's anything different. Okay, now we're going to come forward again. Notice things different with the toes up. As you come forward, as you come back, let the toes come down, and now come over to the side. And just think about that water coming out of the armpit, down your fingers, and into a cup on the floor, so it's really quite a distinct side bend. Okay, good. And then other side. And then over you go. So now where we're going to go after this is, we're going to go from a lunge, and then come up into a high lunge, and then move it into pyramid pose. So what we're going to play with here is we're going to come out. here. Good. Taking the back foot back. We're going to press that knee up by pushing the heel back, and we're going to keep coming up. And now we're going to continue to push that leg back. Let me show that to you again. So that the heel is pushing back, the knee lifts, and then up we go through the hips, right? Bringing that leg back. Yeah. Okay. One more time. That heel back, and then up we go. Good. Nice. All right. So now bring that foot forward a little bit. So we're in less extension, and now let's come into pyramid pose. And then come on up, and then we're going to bring that leg back a bit into that high lunge, and then we're going to lower down, lower down, lower down, lower down. Okay, other side. This side comes up, press that heel back, and then up. We're going to do 3 of these just to get a feel of the coordinating pattern. Right, drop that leg down. Good, heels pushing back, knee lifts, straighten up. Right up more if you want, but look at how it's hips, knees, ankle. So really trying to keep this part of your upper body, obviously, is easy. Okay, and then bring this forward, and then into pyramid. Okay, bring that leg back, and then lower down. Perfect. Okay, now step forward, and coming up into standing. And notice where you're at with your legs. How do those legs feel coming out of lunge, and now you're in standing? Let's grab your strap, your ball, and your block. And begin with having the ball handy. And you're just going to rest the heel of your foot on the wall, on the floor, with your ball underneath the forefoot. And there's many different ways of rolling out the bottom of the foot. You choose the one. I'm just rolling my ball towards my toes and away from my toes. Okay, and then take a pause, and then other side. Good, and then bring that to the side. Okay, I'm just going to scooch this over to the side. Now what I'd like to do is have you bring a strap around your legs. Okay, so you're here. Gently bend the knees, and you're moving through the hips, right? So you're coming into a small little squat. You're not coming all the way down into chair. You're just coming into a small little squat, okay? And then press those legs wide. Now notice if you're gripping with your feet, the movement with the legs bent is coming from here. So even though it looks like my knees are the ones that are moving, the movement is actually coming from here up at your hips. That's why there's this change in orientation of these guys. And if you look closely at your feet, you'll also notice likely that there's a change in orientation, particularly if you're someone who tends to be more of an overpronator. You'll notice an orientation change of your feet because of what's happening at your hip. Good. Okay, and then come up. All right, now from here, just slowly come down and then up. So you're going to feel a gentle press out into the strap as you lower. Come up. Now think about this being hip, knee, ankle. Good. Hip, knee, Oh, this is easy. Hip, knee, ankle. Hip, knee, ankle. Okay, great. Now, let's see. Some of you will have loved that. Others of you will be like, oh my God, that was the worst thing ever. That so didn't work for me. So then what you can do is take a block and bring the block between your legs. And I like to put it right in the meat of the adductors here. We're going to do the same thing. So now we're not squeezing the bejesus out of this block. Rather, we're lowering and lifting. We're just holding the block. So same motion. Okay, so now you're likely going to have noticed that one of these feels a bit better than the other. Some of you will also be more neutral about it, but oftentimes people are like, one is way better than the other. So choose the tool that was better, whether it was the block or the strap, whichever one made you feel a little bit more connected or lighter, or just like your body felt better in it, right? It's interesting to notice the impact of either thinking more about your adductors, your inner thighs, or your abductors, your outer thighs. So I'm going to grab the strap for myself. Okay. And then choose your tool, whether it was the block or the strap, and do the same thing. Feel the 3 points on the bottom of your feet. And then just notice if there's any extraneous tension or breath holding through this upper part of your body. Okay, lovely. All right, now bring that off. Okay, and then as I'm putting my stuff away here, just notice yourself breathing. Okay, easy breath. Notice what you feel through your legs now and what you feel through your upper body. A well-functioning body surrenders upward. So you don't need to lift and prevent yourself from collapsing. You're just here, right? You're utilizing minimal effort, so it's an effortlessness to your movement. Let's carry this on. So now our legs are wide, and we're going to rotate the leg bones. Now notice that I didn't say push your feet out. The motion is leg bones, and then you're going to lower down. Okay. Okay, and now come up. Now take your hands to the outside of the thighs. Press your thighs out as if you have a strap on, and it's coming from this hip joint here. So the legs are pushing out into your hands. Now lower. Feel the 3 points on the bottom of your feet. And stay. Feel the center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe. If there's anything in your knees, your SI, your back, if there's any building tension in your upper body, then come up a little bit. It's not worth it. Find the place where this upper part of your body is not having to come in and compensate to hold you together, and a place where you can be here with ease. Now sometimes I've had conversations with strength coaches who will say to me, there's a time for surge and there's a time for ease, and I would say that you get to absolutely have ease inside of times of surge. Ease is not like sitting on the beach with a margarita or a Mai Tai doing nothing. Ease is really a state of being with how we're doing the surge. And do you want to do a surge with a ton of extraneous tension? Or do you want to be supple? When you look at some of the greatest athletes, they're not full of tension when they're surging. They're fluid, they're graceful, there's an elegance to their movement. All right, ready? Feel the feet, be aware of the knees and hips, and lift yourself up. We're doing one more of these. Now, if you're like, forget it, Susie, I'm not going to do it, then don't. Come back to Tadasana. Notice what you feel, okay? Don't just do this because I'm doing it. You have to pay attention to the symptoms and the signals of your body, right? Feel those 3 points of the feet. Maybe lift the toes up. Notice if that changes anything. Keep those legs coming back, but no SI, sacrum back, jaw, shoulder, nothing through that pelvic floor in terms of tension. All right, and come on up. Good. Now take those legs back together. Lovely. Okay, so now we're here. Feet, legs, pelvis. And notice what's going on further up the chain. Good. And now let's take this guy here up. And hip, knee, ankle. Good. And then just for fun, we're going to come up. We're going to bring it forward. Keep that pelvis level. And start to bring that leg straight, but notice if anything starts to come up in here. Good, and then down. Leg comes up, pelvis is level, rotate the leg bone in the hip socket, and now start to come into here. Are you using your shoulders to lower through your hips? Your shoulders do not do the hip lowering. Yeah. Good. And then straighten that guy out. Good. Come on down. And a little one here. And then if you're able, slowly lower all the way down. This is one that I'm working on. I'm getting there. My heels come up a little bit, but I'm getting there. Okay, we're going to come into a supine twist to finish up. Okay, so here, lie back, knee comes up, leg comes across. Shoulder girdle throughout stays where it is. So the other shoulder, so this is my left leg, my left shoulder is staying on the ground. Good. Come on back. All right, other side comes up. Leg comes across, and then into a twist. So you're moving only as far as this shoulder girdle doesn't come up. Good. And then come on back. And then lie back. Both legs straight out. And now just feel where your legs are at. Okay, I'm going to come up. You stay lying down. Yeah? And I want you just to feel where your legs are at. And notice how your whole body feels. And if you're noticing that there's some more tweaks and there's some strain that has started to increase, then consider that you missed some signals along the way, or maybe you knew that you pushed too far, and just be aware of that as a possibility. Because so often when we have that sort of strain, we just miss something, and so we can start to look back and kind of look at what contributed to it. But also notice where you're breathing easier, and notice where there's more ease perhaps in your body. And just overall where the sensation is in your body and how you're noticing your body, because that's really the most important thing. Is what are you noticing now? Your body being this barometer, this home where you dwell, this home where you've always dwelled. No sheltering at home, but rather this is your home. No self-isolation. This is you. This is yourself. No quarantining. Your body has always been here. So what does it now feel like? Try not to put any meaning to it. Just notice the sensations and signals that are there. Feel your inhale and your exhale. Stay here for as long as you'd like. And when you're ready, take another 5 breaths. Count them on your exhale. And then begin to roll it over and carry on with your day. So whenever you're doing this, morning, night, noon, have a great, great, great rest of your day. And we'll see you tomorrow.